can just say straight away, it was never our intention to make the community upset in any shape or form, right? So when we introduced this system, the black market update, we had great intentions, and we actually thought and still think that it's a great update, right? And that might be, because some things that we can talk about down the line, how this might affect Payday 2's lifespan, in the long run, but also from a player perspective, we as Payday players ourselves, just love the feature as is, and we were surprised when we were received by obviously the large backlash from the community that we did, but we're confident that in the long run this will do Payday 2 as a game and as a community very well. And I know there's been a lot of jokes about that in recent times, but for now you can only take my word on it, because we can't go into more detail exactly what that might mean, right? But based on the feedback that we got during the past 2 weeks, which were very intense for us, not only were we finishing up all the content for the Crime Fest update, where we actually managed to go live with everything during the event itself, except for the completely Overkill pack, which we're still working on, making sure it works 100%. We also, had to make sure that we caught all the feedback, or we couldn't possibly catch all the feedback because there were so many discussions happening at the same time on Reddit, Facepunch, Steam, and elsewhere, regarding people's opinions regarding this, what people liked, what people disliked, and so on. And I think what would have been bad would have been to just retract everything at once, because that would have been bad for us. That would have been bad for the community in the long run, is our perception, because we know what we want to do with this system. And so we, rather than, just doing something extreme at the moment, we want to ride this out and make sure that we, make everyone understand what our honest intentions was with this update. And it's basically this, we want people to have fun with Payday, while at the same time making sure that we can continue making Payday for as long as people want to play it. That's the gist of it, And the goal of the Black Market update is never to change how people play the game. It's just to add an extra layer to the game. If that changes from now on in time, we'll see. But at this point in time, we've done the update. We're gathering feedback from you guys, and we're monitoring the system and the feedback as we go along. But already I think there's a different tone in the community at large. Obviously, the people who've had opinions, whether they're positive or negative, have already stated them, and we've read all the feedback and so on Reddit and on Steam and so on. But definitely, it's been two very interesting weeks for us. And I think for us, as a crew, as developers, we just want to get into it. We just want to win back the community's trust, those who feel they've lost it, with us, and make sure we can produce great content. And I think the addition of both Slaughterhouse and First World Bank during Crime Fest was greatly received, even though there was a lot of other stuff happening around Crime Fest itself.
Yeah, I think especially what you said at the end there is a fair statement. I know for a fact I personally enjoyed the Payday the Heist Classic reboots as they were added during Crime Fest. First World Bank is the changes to it. It's currently my favorite heist in Payday 2, so
I'm happy to hear.
So, arguably, one of the larger responses to the backlash was them pulling out this old quote from before Payday 2 launched, saying there will never be microtransactions in Payday 2.
Yeah. Something that I said, and something that David said as well. Right. So this is also something I answered during the Ask Me Anything. For those of you in the stream who are watching and haven't read that one, you can do that. See if you can find my downloaded answers there somewhere. At the time in 2012 and 13, right? This was early 2013. I think it was May or something like that. We were in the middle of development of the game, right? And the final stretches are very tough, when you do that, because that's basically when you finish 90% of the game, right? Because when you have 10% left, you think you have 10% left, but you actually have 90% left, because you have to make sure the game loop works, make sure you iron out all the kinks and all the stuff that doesn't work well and so on before you can go live with full product. So the reason why we said what we said at the time, the reason I said there won't be any microtransactions in Payday 2, and I also said shame on you if you thought otherwise, was that at the time there were other games out that had a full price tag, of $60 or whatever. And when you bought it, you also had an opportunity to visit like some kind of online store or whatever in the game and purchase other stuff, And we just wanted to make clear, because there were a lot of questions back in the old Spuff forums and elsewhere where people were wondering if that was the case with Payday 2, because at launch Payday 2 and still has a relatively advanced system where you purchase and sell mods and so on with in-game currency, right? And we just wanted to make that extra clear for people that we didn't have microtransactions. Fast forward 2.5 years, right? Here we are sitting with the black market update, adding something that people feel that we should have added, and that we went back on our words. And for those who were offended, by that, I can only apologize. It was never my intention back then to prepare for a lie, if you will, 2.5 years ahead of time. At the time, all of us, at Overkill, were confident that this was the route where we're going. This is the map ahead for Payday 2. Fast forward, a year after launch, we had a great success with Payday 2. We had a great flow in the team, because it's not easy making updates like we do in Payday 2. You have to have a super solid team that can produce content, and they can produce content fast. In order to produce the amount of post-launch content that we've had. As I also said, we've grown the team during this time, adding more people into the mix and so on. We're at a place right now with Payday 2, where we want to continue making stuff for it and also increase our ambition. Because what you usually see with a video game, right, is that you have a game at launch. It might get a DLC or two or whatever, and then the developers abandon the project because it's done, and they continue with the second game or the third game or whatever, in the series. And what we want to do with Payday 2 is something different, right? We want to continue making Payday 2, and not only do we want to continue making the game, we also want to increase the amount of people on the project. And in order to do that, we have to facilitate, how is the sales going, how is that going, how can we make sure that we can continue making the game we want to make, For example, we took in Lion Game Lion, as you know, in order to make the bomb heists, for example, as well as the Golden Green Casino, and they did a terrific job, right? And the coolest thing is that they did such good of a job on those things, right? That we went in and signed them for as Starbreeze, right? We went in and said, hey guys, we love what you've done for Payday. We now want you guys to make a co-op game of your own, right? Because I understand you guys love Payday, right? I respect that. I also love Payday. I could work on this game forever. But it doesn't hurt if we have another co-op game in the mix. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't hurt if you guys get another game that you can play. And what we're trying to do then is that we helped Lion Game Lion form, and they're now working on their own co-op game called the Raid World War II, which is currently in production. And that's thanks to the support of the Payday community. That game would have never seen the light of day unless the Payday community would have played Payday 2, supported us as developers, and supported our ambitions. Because we want to grow as an independent developer. We want to make sure we can continue making the stuff we are making, but also introduce new games and continuously grow as a studio. And I can also answer, there's been a lot of discussion, right? Well, how can you say you're independent? You have a publishing partner with 505 Games, for example, and so on. And yeah, 505 Games are a fantastic publishing partner, but the term independent in our case, because many other independent game developers out there who might be one or two people have publishing partners in order to facilitate distribution of the games, right? So why we call ourselves independent game developers is because we are an independent company and we own our own IPs, right? So Payday 2 is our IP. For example, if Tough Cook here or someone in chat would say, I have a super nice idea I want to be implemented, we can take that idea and just implement it in the game, if we agree with you. There's no other layers of approvals or whatever that we have to go through. There's no one. There's not a Mr. Payday somewhere or something like that. Who owns the license of the IP, who can say, no, I hate Tough Cook. I don't like him. Let's not add whatever he would want into the game, right? Or something like that. We can add whatever we want, right? And that's why I believe. That's why I'm so confident that we as a crew, we as a studio, can recover from this breach of trust, if you will, in many of the community members' eyes, when it comes to where are these features, where are those features. When we will see Infamy 3 and so on, where's my safe house customization? I believe we can make those things happen because we have the tools to do it, and all the necessary rights and everything are in our hands. So it's just up to us, right? And sadly, it just takes time, and it's hard to say exactly how much time.
So, a few things based on what you said there. First of all, when you say you feel that there's or at least the community feels that there's this slight breach of trust between Overkill and the community at this point, do you feel like that could have been avoided, at least in some degree, if you explain microtransactions are coming, this is something we have to do going forward for these reasons, instead of just kind of springing it on the community as you might have done?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we are just people, right? We try to do the best we can, and I definitely think there's 1,000 different ways we could have done it, which would have been better, but we did it. What happened, and I can only hope that we will do our best in order to make sure that the community feels that we're working on the game and working on rebuilding the trust, that they feel have been, that those parts of the community where people have felt, that, all right, my trust was broken because not only the comments, but how everything turned out. And yeah, I just think, it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry it wasn't a smoother experience, because it certainly could have been, I think, but it's easy to look at it in hindsight. I think, and this is something that we're talking about in the Overkill crew and at Starbreeze. How can we do things in the future so that the community never has to feel this way again, right? Because there were parts in the community that were honestly saddened and angry with the recent events, and that's never something that is our ambition. We just want to give you guys joy and pleasure and a great time. That's the whole point of Payday. So we definitely received, a shit ton of feedback to ensure that we know what will happen, if we try to implement something that we maybe should prepare in a different way first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an example of that is
go ahead.
Tripwire Interactive, who do Killing Floor 2.
Yeah.
What they do, which has been fairly well received, in my opinion, is they do this thing called What We're Up To, and they'll say, this is the update we're working on, this will be coming out in a few weeks, and they give the community time to discuss it and give feedback so they can change it based on what the community wants before the update's released.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and I love, we as a studio love the guys at Tripwire. They're fantastic people. They're also an independent developer with their own IP. We have nothing else than respect for those guys, and obviously they've been doing a great job for a very long time with Killing Floor. Not only the first game, right, but the second game now as well. And yeah, I can only say I totally agree with you. That sounds like a beautiful idea, and that's our ambition with both. And there's plenty of different things that we want to do, but I think some of the stuff, or two of the things that people have been asking for, is when will we do a weapon balance based on the previous one we just did, and when will we start with Infamy 3 or 2.0, 2.1, right? And for those two, as an example, right, in our quest to become more transparent as developers with our payday community, we want to show you guys in the community what our ideas are, and then we discuss them together. And based on the discussion, ensuing the discussion, right, and what we say, and then discuss with each other, we then create the content, the update, and then go live with it. This is, it was a couple of months ago now with Infamy, with the release of Infamy, right? And there was a lot of disappointment there from the community in what it was. And already then, we felt that we need to change something in the way we communicate, right? Because the payday community doesn't have to be. We don't want you guys to react the way you did to an update. We want you to feel, hey guys, you've spent time developing this feature. We've been looking forward to it, and now it's here, and we're enjoying it. Thank you very much. That's the proper process, and I think Crime Fest and the resulting discussions and so on, and the AMA definitely served as a really good lesson for us that enough's enough. We have to find better ways to sit down with the community and discuss these things going forward, so we don't repeat this kind of situation where so many are so flustered and so angry or so emotional about an update that we only want them to perceive as good.
Right. And I can tell you that it's definitely going to go a long way having a more kind of back and forth with the community before you guys jump headlong into something.
Yeah.
Because the whole community, we can see your passion for the game that you guys have going. We clearly see that you guys love what you're doing. We just wish that, or at least the parts of the community I frequent, I'm not speaking for everybody, that there was more input, like, this is what we have planned, this is going to radically change the game. Because, like, what you said, Infamy 2.1, there was a statement floating around that it won't be just masks, we swear, and then it was masks and XP buffs, which go away once you finish all the Infamy anyway, so...
Yeah, and I totally hear you, and it's difficult for us sometimes, we might say something like that, for example, and then we read a ton of feedback in the community, and we go like, all right, so let's make it this instead, and go live with it, and then we can change it going forward. But then, a lot of people were like, hey, what the hell? We discussed this, and you said this, but we have this other Infamy version instead that we didn't discuss, And that's why I think, just like you're saying, having the discussion where we say, this is our intent, this is what we want to create. What do you guys think about that? And it sounds so simple when you say it, right? But I think that's the road ahead, and especially for Infamy, and in the ensuing discussions after Infamy, the second Infamy update went out, we talked with the community, and had some other games in mind which have some really cool features when it comes to, the long-term game for the player. Like, for example, Borderlands 2 was one of the games that we mentioned, which has a really good system, I think, for leveling up specific parts of your character, like you can get bonus damage, bonus whatever, and so on. So, yeah, I can only agree with you, man. And the rest of the Overkill crew does too,
Alrighty. It's good to hear that, and the chat's having mixed reactions to that, in a way, about the Infamy stuff. One person has brought up the point they're kind of scared of Infamy 3. Can you talk about what you guys have planned for Infamy 3?
No. Listen. I think I can dispel any fear straight away, right? So for Infamy 3, let's start fresh, right? So we'll go into the community. We'll say these are the thoughts that we've been thinking about. This is what we'd like to see for Infamy 3, and rather than having the community. Let me phrase this correctly. Rather than us presenting feature A and having the community discuss around feature A as it's already set in stone, that's not the ambition here. We would rather much prefer that we go out to the community and say, all right, so we're doing Infamy. We want to improve the Infamy system, right? Call it what Infamy 3.0 or whatever, right? We want to improve the Infamy system for you guys. What would be improvements that you would like to see, whether or not they're just I would like this small change, or I would like this big feature, right? Small and large, what can we do to make Infamy better? And I think having a more open discussion, and I suggest on Reddit, right, because it has a better commenting system where you can upload and download comments in the sense that it's easier for us to see, all right, this is a very much beloved idea. For example, let's say you would have an idea regarding Infamy 3 and a lot of people would agree with you, then that would be uploaded and it'd be easier for us to see that, all right, Tough Cook's idea here is loved by the community, maybe we should go with that one then. And then we after we've had that discussion, then we could go back to you guys again and say, all right, based on all the community discussion we've had, we've gone for this design. What do you guys think again? So it's not just it's not just one chance. Let's try to start out ahead of time. Let's try to have an open discussion, discuss an idea, just like you're saying Tripwire are doing, and let's see if we can reach some kind of design where the majority of people feel, yeah, this is a good design. This is a design that I'd like to see added to Payday 2, because I think it's difficult to get a design that 100% of the community will agree on, right? But at least to have the discussion there, when we're able to, I think would help people be more comfortable with the design, even though they might have disagreed with the idea originally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, going to what you said about it's hard to please 100%, something I tend to think about when live streaming here with the Rusty Chains is an old kind of quote-unquote show business adage. If you try to please everybody, you will spread yourself too thin and please nobody. And I feel like that is very helpful for me to think about anyway when streaming. And not saying that game development is the same process as live streaming for an hour, but...
For sure. And I'm not saying, you make a really good point. I'm not saying, let's have the community decide a feature that in the end would be very bland. It's not what I'm saying, right?
Right.
I'm saying let's have the discussion so people have an opportunity to raise their voices, right? So people have an opportunity to discuss, so that we can then, shape the best feature that we possibly can based on that feedback, and based on the design ideas we have. Because a great feature might not be loved by anyone, whereas a bland feature addition will just be hated by everyone, right? Which is very much what Infamy 2.0 was for people. I think people were really they were I shouldn't say sad, but I can't come up with a better word. They were they didn't expect to just see cosmetics, and that's the route we decided to go at the end of the day, because we felt that that was the right choice at the time. But for Infamy 3, that's different, and I can't say exactly what Infamy 3 will be now either, because we haven't had the discussion with the community. It would be completely unfair to you guys for me to say anything like, yeah, so we had this in mind and this is what we want to discuss. I think we would rather have a more open discussion to start with, and then provide the design based on the discussion and based on our own ideas, and then discuss that again. I think that's definitely a good start. And we might not find the perfect way to do these discussions early on, but it's a start, right? And we can't improve unless we do that. So, yeah.
Right. The chat right now is throwing some points about kind of player advantages, which in a way fits into the whole infamy discussion of like not just masks but other bonuses as well. There's a bit of chatter going on in the chat, and also a very, very, very large amount in the questions we were given. Do you guys think it was a quote-unquote good, or maybe the best idea to be giving microtransaction skin weapon stats? Because, like, there are some players that, you know, they worked really hard to make a great weapon, and then a player just spends $250, opens a safe, and they have a better one with minimal effort. So
I think the idea wasn't to make people feel like that. The idea was to give the skins an added feature, and with time now we've implemented this system, right? And it's just gone. I mean, it's not even 2 weeks since we launched it, and we've already received, you know, a ton of feedback. Going forward, will we continue adding those things? I can't say, you know, because we are continuously discussing, was it a great idea? Just like you are doing. Should we add more? Should we add less? What's the best approach to make sure that as many people get as much enjoyment out of this system as possible? You know, so I think it's a good thing that I don't have a definitive answer here, because this is something that is new ground for us as well. You know, this is the black market update for us. Is the first time we've made an update like that. You know, where we've, you know, introduced trading in the Steam community, and fast forward a year in time, Tough Cook, and it might look completely different. We don't know yet, and I think that's very exciting. And does that mean that we're gonna remove it right now? No. Does it mean that it might change in the future? Yeah, it might. We don't know that yet, but I can honestly say right now we are not gonna remove it. Will we change it in the future? I'm not sure. It depends on what we internally discuss. It depends on the continuous feedback from the community, you know. Yeah, so it's like with anything else in Payday, you know, it grows, it changes, you know. There's been a ton of features in Payday that don't look like they originally looked, you know.
Right, like, for example, the stealth system you guys did, the whole overhaul, that's just one thing that doesn't look as it did.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago, right? Was it update 9, 11? I can't remember.
Right.
It was a very long time ago. And there might be even Payday veterans out there who say it was better back then, you know, than it is now. But we continuously improve on the game, and I think that's the beauty of Payday 2, right? That's the beauty of the situation we're in, that we can have this discussion. And I know, you know, you've been a very vocal community member, Tough Cook, you and your crew, with the threads you have. I mean, you have probably one of the most discussed threads on the entirety of Steam, right? With, you know, what we've done, what we haven't done, what we could do better, and so on. And I think that's great, you know. And rather than to just say fuck it, you know, let's start working on some other game and let's leave these Payday guys here. You know, we want to face you guys head on and say, all right, how can we make this game better together? You know, how can we improve on it while also making sure that we can, you know, pay the Overkill crew so we can continue doing this, you know, without running into the risk of you know, having to cut people off the project or something like that.
Right. The majority of the chat right now is saying, like, oh, removing stat boosts from skins in the future might be a good way to go about it. I feel like that's probably a good idea. So,
well, I don't really personally. This is my personal opinion, but I don't feel like removing the stat boosts matters, because this is a player versus environment, player versus computer game. You're not playing against computer. You're not playing against other people. So why does it matter if you have a stat boost? That's my personal opinion. Go ahead and hate me if you like.
There's some players that go for the body count and stuff, and if they worked their hardest, you know, sitting around in game, and like, I'm going to be our crew's designated police killer, and they sit around working their hardest to build these fantastic weapons, and then somebody goes out and just sits down, pays, and has something arguably better in a few seconds. Someone who's going through working hard on their own to put together this thing for their own fulfillment, somebody's already better no matter how hard they try in certain aspects.
Yeah, I hear both sides, and I think it's funny, you know, someone in the chat instantly said, you know, that Jacob's paid by us. So yeah, we'll meet in the alley after, Jacob. I have the drills for you in the bag. Don't worry.
Don't forget the cocaine.
So thank you both. I mean, this is obviously based on just this discussion that the three of us are having here right now. It's a split argument, right? But our ambition is always to make the game enjoyable for as many people as possible. And right now there's people who disagree with our design choices there, and we respect that, and we take that into account going forward on the future designs that we're doing. And like I said, just on the previous question that we were discussing, whether or not there were people in the past who enjoyed the first stealth version of the game, before we did the stealth update. We did the stealth update because we wanted to improve the game, and there were a lot of people who were hating us at the time, for that we did. But we went through with it and have continuously worked on it since. But yeah, it's not an easy answer at all, or an easy discussion. But that's why I'm saying that we're open for it. I think people read into it more than maybe our intention is. When I said, in the Ask Me Anything, when I said, are you going to remove it? No. That's what I said, right? But that doesn't mean that we might not change it in the future. It's just that right now we need to have a system in place for a certain time in order to see if it's working as we intended or not. If it's not working as we intended, then we need to change it, right? But we need time in order to verify if that's a good or a bad thing. And I think that's what we're in the middle of right now. So that's why it's not an obvious yes or no situation.
Right. Going back to the AMA, something that they didn't see a large amount of response from you on, how do you, and also the rest of Overkill, feel about the user reviews, which arguably have kind of plummeted? Because, like, for example, the Steam positivity, that was up in the 90s, now it's like mid-70s. Metacritic went from, I think, 7.9 to 3.7, so stuff is going down fairly quickly, and most of the Steam reviews are just microtransactions. So do you feel that is something that you guys will ever be able to completely recover from?
I think that depends on the community, right? We were, of course, saddened to see that so many disagreed with us on the recent changes that we wanted to implement. And but at the same time, it's people we're talking about. They can change their minds, and hopefully we can make the changes that we want to do in the future. And hopefully these changes will be received in a positive light, especially so, based on what we've been talking here about our ambition to be transparent and discuss designs with the community before we engage in them. So, but obviously, for any developer, this is, someone asked me, someone phrased Payday 2 as right now as polishing the turd, which I think is it's funny, but it's also crude, because this is a game that we've been working on for the past 4 years. This is something that we started working on in early 2012, and have been working on day and night. And we, of course, when we see so many people disagree with us, we start to think, all right, so are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? And I think that's the good thing of that's one of the beauties of being able to own your own game, like we're doing, right? Is that we can try to make as many things right as possible. Does that mean that we'll win over everyone who put a dislike or a negative comment? No, maybe not, because for them, it's already done and done. But we can we can only do our best from here, move forward, continuously improve Payday 2. We have a 6-month plan that we continuously reiterate and throw away and start over based on community events, how you guys react, what's the talk in the community, and so on. So yeah, but obviously it was sad to see.
The chat, just quite a few people in chat had a good quote based on what you said a second ago. It depends on the community. A lot of people are saying something which I think is somewhat fair, which is it's not just dependent on the community, it also depends on the developer and like coexistence, how these things need to come together, a decent amount of feedback, maybe some more betas for upcoming updates. Like, as you said a few months ago, there's going to be a beta for Infamy 2.1. Great! A chance to test these features before they're rolled out to the community, before we have to be stuck with them forever, a chance to provide feedback.
Yeah, I hear you. Agreed. Yeah, and the chat is right pointing that out. It's not just about the community, of course. That's why we're in the situation we're in, because it's also about the developers. We have a red thread that we want to follow with Payday. That red thread, the designs, the features that we have in mind, that we're discussing internally. The changes based on how we interact with the community, based on the discussions that are going about, based on previous features that we've added. So the way recent events have gone, that will affect the way we communicate in the future, the way we add new things in the future, and so on. So it's all about the coexistence and making sure that we explain properly what we want to do and what the incentives for that is, because I think you touched on that in the beginning of the discussion here, at the beginning of the talk, that if we could have done it differently, where we maybe would have prepared the community in a different way, maybe it would have gone better, maybe it would have been a smoother release. And I definitely think that's one of the key takeaways for us, that I believe we've done a lot of good features in the past that people have appreciated, but I think they might have appreciated them and other updates even more if we would have made it more clear what the feature was about, why we added it at that specific time, what the intention of the feature was down the line, and so on. So explaining more of our reasoning behind updates, explaining more, why we changed the XP system and so on, and preferably, like we're discussing, before we actually do the feature or update. That's the best road ahead, according to me at least.
All right, there's a question through the chat that I'm seeing repeated. I have seen that for the past 20 minutes now. And are there any plans to update or improve on the console editions of the game?
Right, I was just going to touch on that. Specifically, the PS4 version. That's a really big one that a lot of people are asking about. And also the matchmaking on Xbox One, because a fair amount of people aren't too thrilled with the whole system, which is just auto join a lobby. So obviously the Xbox One is its own situation, but also the PS4 players are waiting for that continued flow of content.
Yeah, and I can only feel for the guys. I'm sorry it's been taking this long for them to get more content. It was really unfortunate that we ran into the issues that we did on the Xbox One with our matchmaking not working as we intended it to. So we put the console team on developing, from the ground up, the new matchmaking system for the Xbox One guys. Which has been approved by Microsoft. I think we submitted it on Monday, this past Monday, and I think it was approved Friday, so it shouldn't take that long for it to come out. And we need to go, really easy, step by step here, because we need to make sure that we have the matchmaking work now properly on the Xbox One, so people can play properly together. And when we're done with that, we need to look at getting the first update out with whether it's DLCs, free updates, whatever it is. And as soon as we have that update out there, we can start looking at, all right, so what are the issues people are having? Are there any, console-specific issues, like you were saying? Are the PS4 guys going to get something? Are they experiencing something that they shouldn't be experiencing? So that is a process that sadly is going slower than the one on PC. And when you have a community like the Payday community, which is relatively large, right? And you have one community that that hasn't received updates for a relatively long time, and you see the PC players getting updates, update after update. Of course, there's going to be frustration, and our goal is to make sure that time gap is as small as humanly possible. That's our goal. So and in an ambition there, to communicate more with the console heisters, we're starting to do a video update every 2 weeks where we talk about what's coming up on the console side. And right now the focus has been a lot on the Xbox One version, because that's been our focus, our number one priority in making sure we're fixed. And after that, we're going to continue focusing on both versions again.
Right. I remember seeing the first Xbox video go up on YouTube, and I said to myself, yes, this is the first step. This is communicating with the community, as you said. Here's where we're standing. We don't have something yet, but this is our current process to getting you something. And that definitely went a long way with the community.
Yeah, I agree. Even if it's for some, it might not feel like a big deal, but for us it's a huge deal, because we want to show you guys that we're invested. We want to show that we're working on it, and hopefully we can iterate on the format going along, and we might even start doing it with the PC community going forward. We'll see. It all depends on how well we do this until the end of the year, with the coming stuff for the console guys, and then we'll continuously look at it. It's like with anything we do. I'm happy to hear it's been perceived well.
Going back to community things, there's a few questions popping up again about Crime Fest and microtransactions. Sorry to keep bringing it back to this topic, but as you know, it's really huge right now. So there's 3 big ones I'm seeing. First of all, the side jobs feature, which was created during Hype Train. Do you think... Some people are asking if drills or safes or both could be integrated into side jobs. So, like, there's this one super, really, really difficult challenge, but you have a longer amount of time to do it, and you could complete that and have a drill. So obviously you're not just doing nothing for a drill, but at the same, like, you're working to earn the drill, which is this kind of big thing in the current system.
I think it's a great idea. Whether or not it's the side jobs feature specifically, or if it's another feature or a community event or whatever. Like, for example, with the achievements on First World Bank and Slaughterhouse, respectively, right, where you get a drill and a safe for free if you finish the achievement during the period. I think that's a great idea. I can't say if we're going to implement it or not, but that kind of ideas, is something that we're discussing internally as well. How can we marry you playing Payday and getting rewards at the same time that you can then trade in the Steam market, and maybe earn a buck or two, while just playing the game and having fun with your friends. I think that's a fantastic feature, it sounds like. And that's definitely something that we're going to look at, as we continue developing the game. And I think, you know, that's the good, as I keep on reiterating it, right? But I want to make it clear, you know, why we have, you know, some things in production right now that we can't change that much. The beauty of us continuously working on Payday is that we can change routes. You know, we can change what way we want to go, depending on what we want, what the community is saying, and what, you know, how we discuss it internally based on the community feedback. That's the beauty of this, you know. Otherwise, it would be meaningless, you know, having this discussion. It would just be me trying to give you PR answers or whatever. But you know, I'm honestly taking the feedback in, you know, and the crew will be you guys will put this up onto YouTube on Monday or sometime next week, I would assume. And, you know, the crew, the Overkill crew will see it, you know, they look at it, they listen to what I've been saying, they listen to your questions and so on. So this is an ongoing discussion, it's an ongoing development, and I think that's what's so beautiful with the game.
Right. The community's getting very involved because, like, Crime Fest is, I could say, the way the community really got loud. They showed their opinions. Would you say that this was a big kind of eye-opener, that the community can really band together, make their voices heard, and they can influence things in maybe a bigger way than they have thus far?
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's, again, I'll go back to something I said. I think it's about perception. I think the community has been influencing us more than you guys might think. It's just that we haven't been clear on that. You know, so we might have changed the design completely based on the community feedback, but since we never told you that we did, you might experience it like it never happened. It's the same thing like with Hoxton, you know, the addition of Hoxton into Payday 2, the addition of Hoxton Breakout and Hoxton Revenge, right? Those heists and that character would have never, you know, happened if the community didn't voice their opinions, and if we didn't, you know, go like, hey, we actually have to add old Hawks back, and we have to add him back fast, you know, because people are missing him, you know, because at the time, you know, we had Derek Ray replace Hoxton, and people missed Hoxton, so we, you know, heck, let's just add him again. Let's rename Hoxton to Houston, you know, let's create that story arc. Let's create the story arc, which was completely, you know, based on the community involvement there. You know, that I remember, you know, someone wrote maybe he's been in jail, you know, and we said yeah, maybe, you know, we didn't want to confirm anything because we wanted the discussion to be flowing in the community. We wanted to have people go, where the fuck is old Hawks, you know, what happened to it? And based on that, we designed the heists and the characters' return after that. You know, it's the same. You know, with the Christmas Carol song, songs that we did. That was me and Simon Wiklund sitting, going like, "Hey, we should do a Christmas soundtrack." You know, because who doesn't love a Christmas soundtrack? And it should be old Hawks who sings them, because he's in jail, right? And this is his way of communicating with the crew or the rest of the world, you know. And let's say he met Matt in there and he beat the shit out of him, you know, from Pity the Heist. And right. and that all started, you know, with the community voicing their opinion. So I think it's also us being more clear on that. Hey, thanks, Tough Cook, for this idea. Because of you, you know, we implemented that or whatever.
So I'm gonna ask two big questions here that the community have been asking for, and I'm sorry that these questions don't connect directly to that, but these are some very, very big ones that we're getting almost consistently throughout the entire stream now, and I feel like it's time to address these.
Sure.
Will further Classic Heist be free is one of them. Another is, will the market be fixed? Because right now, all the skins, regardless of quality, are lumped into one thing. So, for example, the market could say, oh, you're paying this amount for the highest quality version, and then you're like, okay, here's $5, and then you'll get the lowest quality. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. I can say regarding the market, we're looking into this with Valve, right? We have to do some things on our end, and we're doing those as soon as possible. And we have to coordinate with Valve and ensuring, that search criteria are up and that everything is working correctly. So definitely that is a high priority. Regarding will there be more classic heists? Will those, if so, will those be free? I can't say right now, honestly, because it all depends on the months ahead. And on the data that we're collecting, the roadmap that we're building. What I can say is that people have been loving, from what I can see, and maybe you want to disagree or agree with me, but from what I can see, people have been loving First World Bank, people have been loving Slaughterhouse, and people were even happier that they were free, right? Because I know I've seen a lot of people have been asking these about these heists in the past, asking, we'll even, buy them as DLC. We don't care. We just want to see them in the game.
I'd say arguably those were the best received parts of this year's Crime Fest.
Yeah, thank you. The level designers and artists working on that are going to be really happy to hear, because they put in a ton of hours making sure, these heists came to be. And like I always said when I received these questions in the past, it's not, we just don't copy and paste a heist from Payday the Heist into Payday 2. We have to rework everything. We have to update textures. We have to remodel the heist if needed be in order to work correctly with the Payday 2 and the added features in this game. We have to rework elements of the heist based on the added features you have in Payday 2 and so on. And we have to make sure it's fun, right? Because we have like when we added the First World Bank, we know we've done the big bank. We know it's a great heist. How do we add another bank and make sure it's different but also fun? So yeah, I'm happy to hear that, and that obviously the feedback from you guys saying that that was the best perceived part of Crime Fest is obviously great, right? And it increases the chances of more stuff happening like that, but I can't confirm it.
So I'm gonna do one more big one, and then what is the biggest one at the moment? How do you plan to address the issue of the community getting skins for weapons they don't own? For example, a player that owns no DLC at all, buys a drill, opens a safe, gets an RPG skin, so they pay they pay $250 for something they can't even use unless they go out and make another payment of $5.
Yeah, we need to make that really clear somehow. If that's a big issue in the community, we need to make that really clear for the player before you purchase a drill, before you purchase a safe, that this drill contains items to a DLC that you don't own. You know what I mean? It has to be really clear, right? Because it says on the safe, for example, what items it contains, right? But that might not be clear enough, and that's something that we have to review for sure. But that's something that we didn't anticipate, and something we've read in the community and are looking at for sure.
Yeah, that's something that's been brought to my attention a lot. Like, I got a Thanatos skin. I don't have that pack, so it's like,
Yeah.
And this is the big one that people have been coming to me. Like, people are even leaving Twitch and coming to me directly on Steam and Skype to give me this one. Like, this is the big one.
And you're telling them, please don't call my number again. I got the message. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to ask. What is the current status of the completely Overkill pack? Because that was delayed repeatedly. We'll release it during Crime Fest. It's delayed during Crime Fest again. And the explanation given was Valve's having an issue. Can you talk a bit about what Valve's issue is, or where that's gone at the moment, and if we can see a time frame on that in the future?
Yeah, I can tell you that as soon as we have a set date, we'll communicate that to the completely Overkill pack owners. It's it's unfortunate because our ambition was and we were ready for CrimeFest. Then we found a critical issue in the marketplace together with Valve that they had to look at before we could go live with it, and then we found some other stuff without being too specific, right? Because I can't. That we're looking at as well before we go live with it, and it's I can only apologize to the completely Overkill pack users. We always hate going, delaying something that we intentionally want to release at a specific date. It sucks, It sucks for us because we want you guys to have it. It sucks for you because you've been waiting for it, and you have to wait even longer. So it's really unfortunate, and I can only apologize.
More about the completely Overkill pack. A lot of people are asking, will you abolish the 1 of 25 system, maybe give a bit more to the owners, because they paid 2/3 of the full game's price for something that's just been continuously delayed over and over, and then even the delay, they're just waiting for an RNG roll too. They don't even get much of a choice. So,
and that's a discussion we're having as well. Is there anything we can do to these guys? But it's nothing I can go into specifically right now. But obviously that's a discussion we've had. I would be pissed too, having waited for such a long time to get it, even though it was announced that it'd be coming at that time, and then having to wait more. That's a discussion we're having for sure.
A question I've been seeing come up in the chat multiple times: will you be having something similar to what Valve has done with Counter-Strike Go, where there will be workshop weapon skins voted on and added to the game over time?
At the bottom of the black market update, we added a small text box or a little. A small text box basically saying that we're working on the workshop feature, and the ambition there is obviously for anyone to be able to create skins and post them in the workshop, and for us to curate them and then hopefully making them a part of a safe, for example. But that's still in development, and it would be wrong for me to talk about it until we're done implementing it and discussing with Valve properly on how to do it. But I think that'd be a great addition, because that would, give you guys the opportunity to invest yourselves and your designs and prove to us, how much better you are at designing skins.
I'm looking at community questions. I'm waiting for them to kind of see how they react to all this.
Yeah.
And, well, I'm waiting for that to flow in. I'm going to pull one from our huge list, which I'm so sorry we haven't gotten to use very much of.
666 viewers.
Oh, God. Satan viewers are here.
Sorry.
And let me be specific there. Let me be clear. If we were to do a workshop functionality where people would be able to create skins, and we would then approve them, and they would be a part of the safe, the person who made the skin would obviously get a royalty based on each safe sold, like in any other similar Steam Market game on Steam, right? For example, Dota 2 or so on. That would be the purpose of that, right?
Right. And so we've got a few questions based around the ways certain things of CrimeFest, including the skins, were implemented. On the Road to CrimeFest website, it says if challenges are not completed, the content won't be released. So would that have meant, like, simple things like jump animations, like weapon rebalances, which the community's been asking for, and even the microtransactions?
I think people are reading into that more than we initially maybe wanted people to, right? But it was the whole point of the Road to CrimeFest event was for us to involve and activate the community, right? Making challenges. And if you're saying, you know, if the question is, if the community would have done nothing, wouldn't you have released any of these things? Then my obvious answer is, of course we would have released them, you know, because we've been working on these things, and no, we wouldn't have put them behind a paywall, you know. And we just wanted to have fun with the community, right? And obviously there was a lot of feedback in regards to that. Some people enjoyed the Road to Crime Fest, some didn't, you know. And what it does as well, when we did it like we did, which I think is bad on our part, is that it creates unnecessary hype, because people perceive that they've invested themselves a ton, you know, into the game during this period, and then they want something that is equal to the time they have invested. But we already know what we're gonna give you, right? But we can't tell you until Crime Fest starts, because the idea with Crime Fest this year was that you'd get an update and you didn't know each day what it was, right? And this goes back to what we've been discussing all of the call, you know, that maybe it's time to start this being more transparent on the features, and stop adding stuff from nowhere and see how people react, right? Even though we think it's a good idea or not. And that's the main takeaway we've gotten from the recent events, that we need to involve you guys more with Infamy 3, for example.
So
I don't. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I need to go soon. So I would love to continue next time, because I've seen questions in the chat. Will we do a call like this again? And I would love to. I think it's a great opportunity to discuss some really important questions from the community that people have been thinking about, and also for, you know, Twitch is a great way because people can discuss with each other in chat.
Right. So how urgently do you have to go? Do you think you have time for maybe one or two more questions, or is it like...
Yeah, sure. I can do one or two more. No problem.
One question that was submitted, which I think is an interesting one. It was given to me over Twitter when we first started taking submissions. Given that microtransactions were not enjoyed by everybody, and that was viewed by some as a negative and was tied to completing the challenge, do you think some people might view this as an incentive to not partake in the challenges if you do a similar event in the future?
I think any event we do in the future, we have to make clear for the community what it's going to be about, what they get, you know, so it's all clear at the get-go, you know. Because, like I said, you know, we created unnecessary hype that didn't serve us or the player, by saying, you know, you'll get a reward that you don't know what it is, you know, because then you start speculating, ooh, maybe it's, you know, this or that, and based on the feedback we've received in the past few weeks, for any future events, I think we'll have to be much more clear on what any reward is, and clear on what you guys have to do, and will we continue to interact with the community through various ways, be it challenges or whatever? Yeah, sure, as long as people want to do them. If let's say we do something similar again, where we introduce the opportunity for the community to do a challenge, and you guys don't want to take part, then obviously that won't work anymore, right? Then we have to go back to the drawing board. So yeah, I think it answers itself kind of in that regard.
Right, and this is one that's popped up a bit, and since you have to be on your way, I'll leave. This is our last one. Can you talk a bit about what happened with Payday 2 Stats website? Because that was a big website loved by a lot of people, used by a lot of people, and then it was just kind of taken down when a near identical feature was added to the games made by Overkill, despite the creator of the original having been told that's not a thing that's going to happen, and then him later being told, we don't even know what your thing is. So
I think I answered this during the Ask Me Anything as well. Maybe you guys read that. I don't know. But like I said then, and I'm happy to say it again, is that honestly we just dropped the ball, right? We treated Tatsuto, who we personally invited to the Overkill crew at one point together with Olipro, the creator of Hoxhud, to visit us and talk about the future of Payday, what they have in mind, feedback from them, and so on. And this is in large my fault. I dropped the ball in communicating with Tatsuto. He hasn't been in touch with all of the Overkill crew at all times, so it's not strange that that there was a disconnect between him and some of the Overkill developers, right? But we definitely should have done much more in order to communicate with him and his team properly, and I can only apologize. We have a great relationship with him and with AJ Valentine and the rest of the guys at Last Bullet and the Last Bullet modding community. And I've talked with I'm Not a Spy and AJ since then, and we're gonna sit down with Tatsuto as well and see what we can do going ahead, right? Because at the end of the day, these are guys who've done a ton for the Payday community, investing their own time into creating mods that the community can enjoy, and we want to support that, and we are supporting it. In this case particularly, we just dropped the ball, so it's just our fault basically, and I apologize to him.
A lot of people are saying, because based on what you said, he wasn't in constant connection with all of Overkill. A lot of people are showing a statement from him that said he tried to connect to many people on many occasions and just never got a reply from anybody.
Yeah, and that's our fault. We should have gotten back to him. It's as simple as that, really. We have to really look into, how do we communicate? How can we make sure that Tatsuto gets as an example, not just him necessarily, right? But any modder who wants to get in touch with us, how do they get an opportunity to get in touch with us and get a response in a timely manner? We have to improve that and make sure that works properly, because it's not okay. And as I said, I apologize.
All right. Do you have time to keep going, or is that basically it?
I would, like we discussed before the call, I had 1 hour to spare right now, but I'm happy to do this again in the relatively near future. I think we should give it some spacing to see if we've if anything's changed based on what we talked about last and so on.
Right.
But still, often enough so we get a thing going, really. Yep. And I've also talked, I also have to give the opportunity, or we rather want to give, we don't have to, but we want to give the opportunity to other Payday community members.
Right, share the love,
Yeah, share the love, who also want to interview us and talk about upcoming features. But I think this was a great opportunity to talk to you guys. I really appreciate it, Tough Cook, that you reached out and provided this opportunity for us, to just sit down with you guys and talk a bit about Payday, because this is, what we do. It's what we love. I can't tell you guys how happy we are to have community members like you who enjoy the game as much as you do, to wake up fucking 7 a.m. in the morning to talk about features and discuss about updates and so on. I think that's great, and truly we appreciate it. We want to continue this kind of discussion, and let's not set a specific date right now. Yeah. I think let's discuss it and see, when is the best opportunity to talk again, because I definitely think we should continue. Not only because I think you have a sweet voice and I enjoy discussing with you, but also because I think this is great. You guys have been streaming Payday and been playing the game for a long time, and we definitely want to support that.
All right. So, thank you for joining us, sir. And I guess we will end it there.
Thank you, guys.
And if anyone in the community has any further questions, which we know you do, if you have Overkill-related questions, there's all the forums on all the websites, the Overkill Twitter. And if you have any Rusty Chains-related questions, you can direct them at us. the Rusty Chains Twitch, where you are now, tee-hee. And of course, our Rusty Chains Steam group is available, where you will be notified whenever we're doing events, our new shows, streams, stuff like that is happening. So, thank you everybody that watched. Thanks a bunch to everybody that submitted questions. 809 days. That's just insane to us.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic.
All the support that you've given both to us as a crew and to Overkill and the Payday 2 community as a collective, it's really, really great to see. And so we will see you all in the future. Thank you.